The story kicks off with a guy waking up in total darkness, confused out of his mind. He can't see, can't move, and has no idea where he is. Then a tiny light appears. It slowly gets brighter, and he realizes it's coming through a crack in what looks like an eggshell. Peeking outside, he spots a forest, which only makes things weirder. Before he can panic properly, a glowing status screen pops up and delivers the worst plot twist possible. He is a dragon egg. Yep, an actual egg. A calm, divine voice explains that the screen shows all his abilities in neat little numbers. But when he demands answers, the voice basically says, "Too bad, you're only level 1. Annoyed, he wiggles in frustration only to fall out of the tree he was resting in. He rolls downhill, splashes into a river, and finally sees his reflection, confirming the horrible truth. He really is an egg. Feeling a bit guilty, the divine voice finally explains everything. Dragon eggs are F-rank monsters, the weakest of the weak. If his shell fully breaks, he dies instantly, meaning even that tiny eye hole was a huge risk. Sure, dragon eggs can grow into terrifying dragons someday, but only if they survive first. And that's a big if, since eggs are a favorite snack for monsters. With no legs, rolling is his only way to move. Deciding that staying put is basically asking to be eaten, he rolls away at full speed, straight off a small cliff. On the bright side, the system praises his frequent falling by leveling up his fall resistance. On the not-so-bright side, it still hurts. Low on HP, he takes a nap and wakes up fully healed, learning that sleep instantly restores his health. Small win. As he keeps rolling around, he starts wondering what he'll hatch into one day, and whether his future involves non-stop fighting just to stay alive. That's when he spots a massive insect nearby. Alarm bells ring. He hides, uses appraisal, and learns the creature's nickname is Egg Eater, which is exactly as bad as it sounds. The monster notices him and immediately gives chase. He rolls for his life, knowing he can't outrun it forever. The chase ends at a cliff, where the insect leaps to devour him. At the very last second, he dodges, slams into the creature, and knocks it off the edge. The monster dies on impact below. Just like that, he wins his very first battle. The system rewards him with 12 experience points, shooting him straight to level 5 and maxing out all his stats. Not bad for an egg. On top of all that, he unlocks the option to evolve. The system offers him 2 choices, baby dragon or little dragon, since both sound equally vague and unhelpful. The system kindly explains. The little dragon is basically a compact dragon model. It's smaller than most dragons, but still bigger than a bear when fully grown, and it's famous for having a strong fire breath. Solid, reliable, and great for surviving. The baby dragon, on the other hand, is not exactly built for combat. Its claws and fangs are short, making it pretty bad at fighting early on. However, it has insane long-term potential and can evolve into many different types of dragons. The downside: baby dragons are considered a luxury snack by monsters and adventurers, which means they get hunted constantly. Naturally, he first picks the little dragon because staying alive sounds nice. But the moment he makes that choice, the divine voice suddenly hugs him and tells him not to limit himself. It says it expects great things from him and wants him to aim for the very top. This completely throws him off. He starts wondering if the voice is disappointed because he chose safety over risk. Thinking it through, he realizes the little dragon might have limited evolution paths, while the baby dragon could grow into something far greater. Not wanting to regret playing it safe, he changes his mind and chooses the baby dragon instead. Sure, it's risky, but he'd rather gamble now than hate himself later. The system accepts his decision, and his body immediately begins to change. Moments later, he evolves into a yellow baby dragon. Along with the transformation, he gains a bunch of new skills, and all his stats get a massive boost. Unfortunately, evolution doesn't come with a free refill. His HP and MP stay low, leaving him completely drained. As if on cue, his stomach growls loudly. He suddenly feels starving. Looking over at the worm he killed earlier, he's shocked to realize it now looks tasty. He understands that if he wants to grow stronger, he needs protein, and his dragon instincts fully take over. Without thinking twice, he devours the worm, then curls up and falls asleep. When he wakes up the next morning, he feels fully recharged, like he just slept for 12 hours straight. He heads to the river, looks at his reflection, and finally accepts the truth he's been reincarnated into another world. The strange part is that he remembers absolutely nothing about his past life. No name, no face, no memories, not even whether he was a guy or a girl. It's like that whole life was wiped clean. Before he can think too hard about it, he notices several dark worms creeping up behind him. This time, he doesn't run. He charges straight at them. Thanks to his new skills, he wipes out the first group in no time. The more he fights, the more skills he unlocks, making every battle easier than the last. After clearing them all out, hunger hits again, but there's no way he's eating dark worms. They tasted horrible last time. Instead, he spots some mushrooms nearby and decides to try those. Big mistake. He quickly realizes they're poisonous and pays the price for his bad food choice. After that experience, he makes a lifelong promise to never eat random mushrooms again. Still hungry, he ventures deeper into the forest in search of real prey. Surviving on worms clearly isn't the dragon life he wants. After some exploring, he spots a gray wolf. Even though it's bigger than him, he uses his baby breath and a dragon punch to take it down. The fire slightly burns the wolf, and when he smells it, he realizes it smells exactly like barbecue. Curious, he cooks it a little more with his fire breath and takes a bite. Turns out, it's amazing. Soon after, he runs into another gray wolf and defeats it almost instantly. This pushes him all the way to level 20 out of 25. He realizes he only needs 5 more levels before he can evolve again. As he grills the second wolf, it hits him that he's starting to get used to this lifestyle. Hunting, fighting, and eating like a dragon now feels completely normal. Even so, there's one thing missing. Talking to the divine voice is getting lonely and boring. He finds himself wishing he had a best friend to keep him company. Surprisingly, that wish seems to come true almost immediately. Not long after, he hears voices in the distance. He can't understand the language at all, but hearing them still brings relief because those voices belong to humans. He quickly hides behind a nearby tree and carefully peeks out, spotting a small group of adventurers heading his way. At first, he thinks about stepping out and trying to talk to them. Then reality hits. He's a dragon. A very edible-looking one. He wonders if they'll attack the second they see him. Still, he convinces himself that he's small, harmless, and honestly kind of cute. Maybe they won't see him as a threat. Maybe they'll even keep him as a pet. With that hopeful and very naive thought, he walks out from behind the tree and does his best cute and friendly pose. It goes terribly. The adventurers don't see a cute dragon, they see dinner. The leader immediately slashes him across the chest, then uses magic to numb his body, leaving him unable to move. Helpless, he can only watch as they close in to finish him off. In that moment, he realizes how foolish he was to think a dragon could ever befriend humans. After surviving so much and evolving, it feels like everything is about to end for nothing. Just as the leader prepares the final strike, a female adventurer stops him, saying there's no need to kill such a small, innocent-looking dragon. Confused, he feels warmth spreading through his body and realizes she's healing him. Using appraisal, he learns her name is Maria. Despite her low MP, she heals him anyway, and the system grants him the Greek language skill, allowing him to understand human speech as it levels up. The calm doesn't last. Screams echo ahead, and Maria recognizes them as her teammates. She rushes off despite his warning that it's too dangerous. Unable to abandon the one who saved him, he forces himself to follow. When he arrives, he sees the enemy, a rock dragon, a C-rank monster with 197 GP. Maria is already injured, and when he calls out to her, the rock dragon turns its attention to him. Facing the massive creature, he freezes in fear, wondering if this is truly the end. Staying means facing a monster he has no chance of beating, but abandoning the girl who just saved his life feels worse. Even the divine voice in his head is screaming at him to escape if he wants to live. Illusion knows it's right, but he still steps forward. He reveals himself to distract the dragon and pulls off a desperate roll just as it charges, barely dodging before smashing into its face. That's when he notices the others. One teammate is already dead, HP at 0. No saving him. The other still has a few points left, but he's pinned under a fallen tree and running out of time. Thinking fast, Illusia tries to provoke the dragon and lure it away, planning to circle back later. Unfortunately, the dragon isn't stupid. It shatters the ground in front of him, sending Illusia crashing down. With no choice left, Illusia punches back, literally launching a fire punch straight into the dragon's mouth. For a brief moment, he feels proud. It actually worked. Then the dragon's health bar shoots right back to full. That's when reality hits. This thing is unbeatable right now. While the dragon regenerates, Illusia grabs Mia and runs. He can't carry everyone, so he makes the painful choice to save her and leave the other man behind, knowing exactly how that story will end. Mia's condition keeps getting worse as blood continues to drain her strength. Illusia can't heal her, no magic, no medical knowledge, so his only hope is reaching a human village. He follows the scent, but then catches another smell. Wolves. Dozens of them. Surrounded, Illusia is forced to put Mia down and fight. She briefly wakes up, sees him battling to protect her, and then blacks out again. By nightfall, Illusia is barely standing, but somehow he reaches the village. He begs for help. Unfortunately, he's still a dragon. The villagers hear roaring, not words. When they see him holding Mia, they assume the worst and attack. Realizing he can't convince them, Illusia gently sets Mia down and disappears into the forest. 2 days later, Mia wakes up safely healed by white magic. Her friends weren't so lucky. One was found dead. The other never came back. As grief sets in, Mia slowly realizes the truth: she didn't survive on her own. Something saved her. Something monstrous and kind. Meanwhile, Illusia recovers the only way he knows how: by taking a nap. His wounds vanish, reminding him just how absurdly strong his body is. Still, he knows he wasn't strong enough when it mattered. So he decides to fix that. He wipes out an entire colony of dark worms, hits level 25, and earns the right to evolve again. Sitting by a lake, he's given several options, mostly small dragons. One is a plague dragon. Hard pass. After hearing the system's explanations, Illusia leans toward the kid dragon path. Slower now, stronger later. The angel dragon sounds tempting with its healing magic, but its weak combat ability makes it a terrible choice for surviving this forest. This time, Illusia won't choose wrong. The next option on the list is the kid dragon, which the system explains is basically his baby dragon form, just bigger, stronger, and with way better stats. Then there's the kid marble dragon, which is almost the same, except it comes with a mutation that gives it a polka dot pattern and a much higher affinity for magic. That instantly catches Illusia's attention. Strong magic sounds very tempting, and he's already leaning toward that choice. But before he can decide, the system brings up the young plague dragon. It explains that this form is the first step toward becoming an evil dragon that spreads disaster everywhere it goes. Illusia cuts the system off immediately. Becoming an evil dragon is a hard no. People already panic when they see him adding "bringer of disaster" to his resume would make things even worse. Forget making friends. Then the system casually drops one small detail. The plague dragon can transform into a human. That single sentence makes Illusia pause. A human form means he could finally talk to people, explain himself, and maybe, just maybe, have friends someday. Suddenly, the idea doesn't sound so bad anymore. Even if it means becoming an evil dragon, it might actually be worth the risk. He has a bad feeling about it, but if this is the only way he'll ever get close to Miria again, he'll take it. After all, being a plague dragon doesn't mean he has to spread plague, right? So he promises himself he'll be a good, honest plague dragon. The evolution begins, and instantly, regret kicks in. He looks absolutely terrifying now. Still, the system cheers him up by listing all his new abilities. He unlocks flight, venomous fangs, disease breath, and paralysis, which honestly sound more horrifying than exciting. On top of that, he earns the titles Walking Calamity and Wrongdoer. Yeah, this might have been a mistake. And to make things worse, he didn't even unlock human transformation. The whole point of this evolution was to become human, but the system refuses to explain how it actually works. Illusia panics. He lies by the lake, completely defeated, before realizing there's no point crying forever. If this is his fate, he might as well understand it. He asks about one of his skills, Dragon Scale Power. The system explains that by flapping his wings, he releases a deadly miasma that weakens everything nearby, and at max level, it could wipe out an entire nation. Horrified, Illusia tests it once. A nearby flower instantly withers. Great. He's officially a walking biological weapon. Next comes Disease Breath, which does exactly what it sounds like. Anyone hit by it gets a random illness, ranging from a cold to cancer. Entire civilizations could fall to it, definitely not helping his good guy goals. Still, there's one bright spot. He has a title called Itty Bitty Hero, earned when he saved Miria. The system explains that this title comes from small acts of courage and kindness, and if leveled up, it could eventually lead to full hero status. Illusia clings to that hope. Maybe this is how he avoids becoming a demon king. Unfortunately, his other title isn't so nice. Wrongdoer boosts dark damage, but makes learning healing magic much harder. Illusia throws a full-on tantrum when he hears that, because he really wanted to learn healing spells. Meanwhile, back in the human village, Miria helps Marielle maintain the magical wards protecting the town. These wards subconsciously tell monsters to stay away, but strong-willed monsters can still get through. Miria wonders if the monster they encountered came on purpose. She can't forget how Illusia protected her, and she feels like he was trying to help. Curious, Miria asks if a monster could ever want to save a human. Marielle jokes that Miria might be developing monster-loving tendencies, but still explains. Monsters can evolve after reaching certain levels, growing stronger each time. Humans learned about this thanks to rare individuals who can hear the divine voice, which explains levels, titles, and evolutions. Marielle insists that if Illusia appears again, he'll likely be far more terrifying and dangerous. Monsters act on instinct, after all. Miria isn't convinced. Back in the forest, Illusia finally accepts his new form. He decides to level up his hero traits and learn the conditions for human transformation. Step 1. Grinding weak monsters. But things go wrong fast. His movement suddenly slows, and when he looks up, he sees a massive spider web. A giant spider drops down and attacks. The fight is tough, but Illusia discovers fire breath works well. Still, the spider has way too much health. Even after claws and paralysis, it's only halfway down, and now it's furious. Realizing he can't win, Illusia tries to run. The spider gives chase. He attempts to fly, and it doesn't work. Now he's stuck on the ground, facing a very angry spider. 10 minutes later, the spider is still chasing Illusia. At this point, it's clear the thing is deeply committed to ruining his life. It hasn't slowed down even once. Because Illusia keeps rolling non-stop, his roll skill levels up from 2 to 3, letting him move much faster fast enough to finally outpace the spider. The downside? He earns the title Chicken Runner. Illusia doesn't care. If being a coward keeps him alive, he'll take it. Then reality hits. He's running straight toward a massive cliff, and falling off it would be instant death. Turning right isn't an option either, because the spider would just keep chasing him. His only choice is to jump the ravine. He still has no idea how his flying skill actually works, but if he jumps high enough, he can catch the air currents and glide across. Somehow, it works and Illusia makes it to the other side safely. When he looks back, he sees the spider casually building a bridge made of webs and crossing the ravine like it's nothing. Yep, still chasing him. As Illusia keeps running, his roll skill reaches level 4, which is nice, but not exactly solving the problem. Along the way, he accidentally runs over a gray wolf, earning experience points and raising his plague dragon level from 1 to 3. And it doesn't stop there. Monsters keep getting in his way, and he keeps mowing them down. Before he knows it, he's level 8. With his stats boosted this much, Illusia decides he might finally be able to fight the spider. He stops running and asks the system to scan it. The results are exactly what you'd expect. Webs, paralysis, venom, and something called double poison. He's not sure what that last one does, but he assumes it won't be a big deal. That assumption lasts about 2 seconds. The spider activates double poison and releases a cloud of toxic gas. Thanks to his poison resistance, Illusia can still move, But the spider doesn't know that. It just waits, assuming Illusia will collapse. So Illusia does the smart thing. He pretends the poison is working. Once the spider gets close, Illusia unleashes a massive blast of fire, burning it to ashes instantly. Victory. As a result, his level jumps all the way to 14. Unfortunately, he still hasn't unlocked human transformation, and the system refuses to explain why. After complaining for a bit, Illusia kills a wolf for dinner and looks for a place to sleep. That's when he spots a cave nearby. It's empty, so he claims it as his new base immediately. That night, he roasts the wolf meat and remembers some herbs he collected earlier. He adds them in, and to his surprise, they taste just like pepper. It's his first real taste of spice in this world, and he loves it so much that he earns the title Mr. Chef. He briefly wonders if he could win people over with cooking, then realizes no one is going to trust food made by a plague dragon. That chance was back when he was a cute baby dragon. Now, he doubts Miria would even recognize him. Speaking of Miria, she's at a bar in the village when she hears a disturbing rumor. An old man claims he saw Daz wandering in the forest, looking like a zombie and ignoring his voice. He wisely stayed far away. Miria freezes. Even though it sounds suspicious, she still feels guilty about not saving Daz and Gantz. She wants to investigate, but Marielle shuts that idea down immediately. Instead, she agrees to contact the Adventurers Guild to handle it. The next morning, Illusia wakes up ready for another day of hardcore XP farming. But suddenly, he notices a moving puddle on the ground. Assuming it's a weak monster, he tries to scan it. The system starts glitching out. Apparently, his level isn't high enough to even understand what that thing is. The slime tries to attack Illusia, but at the last second realizes this is a terrible idea and bolts. After running far enough to catch his breath, he admits one thing to himself. Whatever that thing was, messing with it is a great way to die. So he decides to hunt somewhere else in the forest. While wandering around, he spots a small pot sitting next to a tree. Naturally, he thinks he's hit the jackpot finally, something to store fruit in. Unfortunately, the moment he touches it, the pot wakes up and tries to kill him. Turns out it's a D-rank monster called a Potties. Illusia punches it with fire, but the attack barely scratches it. So he keeps attacking again and again, slowly wearing it down. Just when he thinks he's won, the pot heals itself back to full health. At this point, Illusia is officially annoyed. Out of pure frustration, he grabs the pot and throws it off a cliff, figuring there's no way it can swim. The plan works, and he gets XP for the kill. Sadly, the nearby pots are not amused. They merge together into the most pathetic fusion Illusia has ever seen. The pots clearly think they look scary, but in reality, they've just made themselves easier to smash. A few attacks later, Illusia earns over 500 XP and reaches level 30. His stats jump up nicely, but all the pots shatter, leaving him with nothing usable to store food. Still annoyed, he hears something moving nearby. The system identifies it as a clay bear, the same rank as him. Illusia likes his odds, and more importantly, if it's made of clay, he can finally craft his own pot. Maybe even some furniture. That's reason enough to fight. He sneaks up, gets the high ground, and immediately ruins everything by yelling as he jumps down. The bear turns around and opens a giant mouth in its stomach, completely freaking Illusia out. He expected a bear, not a nightmare sculpture. The clay bear charges. Illusia runs while firing attacks, and surprisingly, they do decent damage until the bear instantly heals itself. That's bad news. Illusia realizes he'll have to defeat it in one shot, but he doesn't have that kind of power yet. Dropping it off a cliff won't work either, it's way too big. So he switches to hit and run tactics, hoping the bear runs out of mana. Then things get worse. The bear creates a tornado around itself and transforms into a spiky version covered in thorns. Now Illusia can't even roll into it without hurting himself. On the bright side, the transformation drains a lot of the bear's mana, limiting its healing. The bear rips off one of its spikes and throws it at him. Illusia dodges but notices the spike starts crumbling once it's detached. That sparks an idea. He rushes in, twists off the bear's arm, molds it into a ball, leaps into the air, and smashes the bear with everything he's got. One hit, total destruction. The victory grants massive XP, pushing Illusia to level 33. He unlocks a new skill called Nutcracker, a name he doesn't love, but one that fits. Best of all, he finally gets the clay he wanted. Back home, Illusia makes his first clay bowl and builds a simple kiln to fire it. While it bakes, he heads out to find food. He discovers lightning mushrooms tasty but mildly paralyzing, so he wisely leaves them alone. Next, he finds a carnivorous flower and chops it down instantly. The system explains it stores salt in a pouch at its base. Disgusting source, incredible seasoning. Meanwhile, in the human village, Mia ignores Marielle's orders and enters the forest, believing Daw might still be alive. She's scared, unprepared, and full of guilt, but she goes anyway. What's the worst that could happen? Back in the forest, Illusia finds mushrooms that only become dangerous when fully grown, perfect for dinner. He also finds extremely valuable mushrooms used to make drugs. The moment he hears that, he burns them to ash. He's leveling up, not starting a crime empire. Mia continues sneaking through the forest, hiding from monsters she has no chance of fighting. Illusia, meanwhile, discovers rare spice berries worth a fortune, basically this world's saffron. Thrilled, he heads home to cook. As Mia starts having second thoughts about going deeper into the forest, the terrifying monster she fears is busy admiring his massive pile of berries. She decides sticking to the forest's edge is the smarter move, and honestly, it's probably the best decision she's made all day. That night, Illusia lights up his cave with glow mushrooms, giving it a cozy, natural glow. His clay bowls are finally done, which means he can cook properly at last. He throws all his ingredients into a pot and makes a stew. Finding salt earlier turns out to be a lifesaver. It actually tastes good. It's the first real meal he's had since arriving in this world. The cooking isn't perfect, but for the first time in a long while, he feels almost normal again. With plenty of clay left, he decides to make cups and maybe decorate the cave a little. The next morning, a carriage passes through the area carrying 2 passengers. They're adventurers sent by the guild to investigate strange monster activity in the forest. Later that day, Illusia returns to his cave after a successful hunt. The place now looks more like a workshop than a cave, packed with pottery. He started butchering wolves and collecting pelts so he can eventually make proper clothes. By now, he's grown comfortable in this world and has even learned how to preserve food so he doesn't have to hunt every day. The only problem? Random creatures keep stealing his food. But Illusia has a plan. He decides to make a special batch of jerky infused with every poisonous plant he can find. That should teach those sneaky monkeys a lesson. While searching for poisonous ingredients, he wanders into a field of colorful flowers and encounters a monster he's never seen before. The system identifies it as the Venom Princess, a creature loaded with poison-based abilities. Illusia stays alert, but a lizard distracts him just long enough for her to sneak up and bite his shoulder. Even with poison resistance, her venom is brutal. The pain overwhelms him, and before long, Illusia collapses unconscious. This poison was way stronger than anything he'd faced before without a cure. He was basically done for. He searched around, but there were no antidote plants anywhere. With no other choice, he used the system to scan the Venom Princess. That's when he learned something important: this monster hunts by poisoning its prey and waiting for it to die. Because it eats poisonous plants, its body naturally produces an antidote too. So if Illusia could capture it, he could save himself. The problem? The Venom Princess was probably hiding nearby, waiting for the poison to finish the job. Illusia pretended to run away, hoping the monster would chase him. His plan was simple: use his roll skill to outspeed it and strike back. But of course the Venom Princess could roll too. Great. Plan ruined. Thinking fast, Illusia led it toward the cliff from earlier. While rolling through the forest, the monster even attacked mid-roll, which felt completely unfair. But Illusia pushed through and finally knocked it off balance near the ravine. Then reality hit. If the Venom Princess fell down there, he'd lose the antidote and die. So Illusia jumped after it. Halfway down, the poison kicked in harder. His vision blurred, his body burned, but he forced himself forward and blasted fire breath to launch both of them back onto land. He survived. Barely. Then he passed out. Meanwhile, Mia spent all day searching the forest for Illusia and found nothing. On her way back, Marielle caught up to her, worried sick. She asked if Mia had gone into the forest alone. Mia lied straight to her face. Marielle explained that the guild had already sent professional adventurers to search the forest, so Mia didn't need to worry anymore. Back in the forest, Illusia finally woke up shocked that he was still alive. Even more shocking, the Venom Princess was standing calmly beside him. Instead of attacking, it had saved him and given him the antidote. Illusia thanked her. Sure, she tried to kill him earlier, but he'd killed plenty of monsters too, so fair enough. Now he finally had a companion and didn't have to talk to himself anymore. That night, he brought her home and cooked with the ingredients he'd gathered. She loved the food, and Illusia happily invited her to stay as long as she wanted. Then she spotted a creepy barrel of poison. When Illusia explained it was homemade, she immediately started drinking it like juice. He panicked, then remembered she's immune to poison. Curious and very stupid, Illusia took a sip too. Instant regret. The next days were peaceful. They hunted together perfectly and bonded fast. One day, while picking berries, the Venom Princess ran off toward a horrible-smelling poisonous mushroom. Illusia burned it immediately. No way was he living with that smell. She got upset, until she suddenly formed a clay spike and attacked something hiding nearby. Out came a terrifying two-headed wolf monster. One scan later, level 39, insane stats, gravity magic, tracking skills. Running wasn't an option. So they fought? Illusia distracted it from the front, while the Venom Princess waited to poison it. Easier said than done. Every time Illusia attacked one head, the other smacked him down. The blue head trapped him in a gravity field, nearly crushing him until the Venom Princess broke the spell with a clay bullet. Free again, Illusia blasted the monster with dragon fire. Victory? Nope. The thing healed itself mid-battle. Totally unfair. When the blue head started casting another powerful spell, Illusia charged straight in, took the hit, and punched it hard enough to interrupt the magic. That opened the perfect chance. The Venom Princess dropped from above and poisoned the wolf. Now the poison was destroying it faster than it could heal. Game over. Or so they thought. In a desperate move, the red head bit off the blue head to stop the poison from spreading. Illusia was horrified, but at least no more gravity magic. Right. Wrong. The monster had a skill called sacrifice. When a head is cut off, it turns into a vengeful ghost. And since poison killed it, the ghost head went straight for the Venom Princess. Illusia rushes to protect the Venom Princess, but the wolf blocks his path. So first, he handles the problem. He launches the monster into the air, grabs its head as it falls, and slams it into the ground with all his strength. Then he runs straight to where the Venom Princess was. She's the first real friend he's made in this world, and the thought of losing her terrifies him. Suddenly, he spots a pool of blood. His heart drops. It's hers. Illusia starts calling out her name, hoping she's still alive. Just when he's about to lose hope, he hears a weak response from the bushes nearby. She's badly hurt but alive, and that's all that matters. But before he can relax, the ghost wolf head comes flying in, trying to finish her off. Big mistake. Illusia punches it again and again until it's nothing but a bloody mess. He gently lifts the Venom Princess in his hands and carries her home, relieved beyond words. In that moment, he realizes something important. As long as she's by his side, he doesn't care about turning human anymore. Of course, the system had other plans. It suddenly announces that Illusia has leveled up enough to unlock his human transformation. Surprise unlocked. Back in the village, Marielle shows Mia an old monster book since she's been so curious lately. It talks about weak creatures like dark worms, so harmless even a healer could beat them. But higher ranks are a different story. D-rank monsters are dangerous. C-rank monsters, like the rock dragon, can wipe out normal people even if defeated with teamwork. And B-rank monsters, only heroes can survive those. That's why Marielle always warns everyone to stay out of the forest. Just then, footsteps echo at the door. The adventurers sent by the guild have finally arrived. On their way to the village, Yuno nervously asks Melcia if taking a C-rank mission with just the two of them was really a smart move. Melcia casually agrees it's dangerous but jokes that if things go south, she can always ditch Yuno and run. Yuno freaks out, only for Melcia to laugh and say she was kidding, mostly. Their job isn't even to fight monsters anyway, just to search the forest. They soon arrive at Marielle's house, where she explains the problem. A man named Daw went missing after fighting a rock dragon, and his daughter Mia keeps sneaking into the forest to look for him, convinced he's still alive. Worried she'll get hurt, Marielle wants the girls to search for proof of Daw's fate, preferably his body, or at least evidence he didn't survive. Meanwhile, in the forest, Aluja wraps Princess in healing herbs, then excitedly tries out his new human transformation skill. Sadly, instead of becoming a handsome human, he turns into a taller, uglier lizard version of himself that's weaker and drains his magic. Feeling completely scammed by the system, he gives up and goes back to dragon form. Elsewhere, Melcia and Yuno barely manage to defeat a spider monster and are already exhausted. As night falls and the monsters grow stronger, Yuno doubts any human could survive out here. That's when they stumble across Aluja's cave, complete with strange stone statues that clearly look man-made. They notice meat hanging from trees and realize a human must be nearby. Inside the cave, they find lights, fur, and rare fruit, including red gold, so valuable most people never even see it. Yuno wants to grab some, but Melcia stops her, warning this could be a thief hideout. Suddenly, Princess wakes up and nearly attacks them, then randomly leaves instead. Terrified but relieved, the girls quickly escape the cave. Outside, Aluja is nervously pacing. He had Princess stand down because he wanted to meet humans peacefully, thinking they might accept him as a weird lizard man. He transforms again and walks up to greet them. Big mistake. The moment he says hello, Yuno smashes him with her mallet and Melcia slashes him with a sword skill. Realizing they're totally outmatched, they run for their lives while Aluja stands there, heartbroken over his failed attempt at friendship. The next morning, Aluja cheers himself up with breakfast and decides to get revenge on the forest monkeys that keep stealing his food. He asks Princess to poison some meat, and she creates a deadly, odorless toxin like a proud little chemist. The monkeys take the bait and collapse. Aluja jumps out to finish the rest, but they fight back and surround him. With Princess helping, they manage to win, or so they think. One monkey suddenly whistles loudly, basically a jungle sauce. Moments later, the alpha monkey shows up like a boss battle straight out of a game. Aluja checks its stats and realizes the real danger. The alpha can buff its followers, making the other monkeys way stronger and faster. The fight quickly turns ugly. Princess nearly gets thrown into a tree, and Aluja barely saves her. Panicking, Aluja asks the system for help and gets the most useless backstory ever about how the alpha became leader by beating the old leader. Thanks. Very helpful. Then Aluja notices something interesting: the alpha has telepathy. Realizing he might be able to negotiate, Aluja grabs the poison monkey, holds his claws to its neck, and prepares to use it as a bargaining chip. Seeing Aluja holding one of their own hostage, the alpha monkey quickly signals his troops to stand down and activates his telepathy to ask what Aluja thinks he's doing. Aluja calmly explains that the monkey in his claws has been poisoned by Princess and will die soon unless the alpha lets them go. If he agrees, Princess will give the antidote and everyone walks away alive. Sounds fair, right? Not to the alpha. He immediately refuses, saying Aluja and Princess are too dangerous to be left alive, even if it means sacrificing a few monkeys. Which is not great news. Realizing they might not survive a full group fight, Aluja suddenly challenges the alpha to a duel. Monkey law says the leader must accept, and refusing would prove he's a coward. The alpha, not wanting to lose face, agrees. But first, he has one of his monkeys grab Princess to make sure she doesn't interfere. Now it's a one-on-one fight. Much better odds, but still terrifying. The alpha wastes no time throwing heavy punches, knocking Aluja around like a rag doll. Aluja quickly realizes he can't win with brute strength, so he starts rolling away to create space. This absolutely enrages the alpha, who calls it disrespectful. He even threatens Princess, basically saying, "Fight properly, or she gets it." Pressure on. Aluja launches himself into the air with a roll, crashes down with insane force, and stuns the Alpha. Taking advantage, he unloads a rapid combo of blows that chunks a huge amount of the Alpha's health. Aluja's thinking, wait, am I actually winning? But of course boss fights never end that easily. The Alpha suddenly lets out a terrifying roar. Phase 2 unlocked. All his remaining mana converts into speed, turning him into a blur of punches. Aluja can barely even see the attacks coming now. So Aluja does the craziest thing possible. He challenges the Alpha to a no dodging, no running, straight up fist fight. The Alpha doesn't want to accept, but refusing would hurt his pride. So he agrees. Now it's pure punch for punch chaos. Both of them are exhausted, barely standing. Right as Aluja is about to collapse, he times one perfect counter and lands a final crushing blow that defeats the Alpha. Victory. But the Alpha gets one last hit in 2, knocking Aluja unconscious. So yes, Aluja won. But whether he survives, that's the cliffhanger. A while later, Aluja wakes up back in his cave with Princess beside him. The last thing he remembers is beating the monkey chief and then blacking out. So naturally, he assumes Princess dragged his giant body all the way home. Impressive, considering she's tiny. Turns out, she had help. When Princess tilts her head, Aluja follows her gaze and freezes. A whole group of monkeys is casually hanging out in his cave. For a second, he panics. Did they come for revenge? Is this a monkey uprising? But they're not attacking. They're just standing there. After checking his stats, Aluja discovers he's earned the title of Monkey Chief. Oh, so they're not here to fight, they're here to work. Princess isn't thrilled about sharing his attention with a bunch of furry newcomers. Aluja, however, thinks this is fantastic. Free labor. For their first task, he sends them out to gather food. To his surprise, they're incredibly efficient. When he praises them, they light up with pride. Unfortunately, Princess lights up with jealousy. Then the monkeys politely ask if they can have some of the jerky hanging from the tree. Since they're officially contributing members of the household now, Aluja agrees, which means he has to make more. While preparing the next batch, he notices one monkey watching him very closely. A genius idea hits him: if he teaches the monkey how to cook, he won't have to do it anymore. So he starts giving a cooking lesson. The monkey eagerly grabs a knife and tries to copy him. That's when Aluja suddenly feels a chill. He slowly turns around. Princess is standing there, absolutely burning with rage. He has no idea why. Still, the monkey turns out to be a decent cook, so Aluja leaves him in charge of jerky duty. But now that there are more mouths to feed, he'll need better storage, more pots. Outside, he begins shaping clay into a pot. One monkey watches with interest and asks to learn. Aluja realizes something important: monkeys have opposable thumbs. They're actually better at crafting than he is with his claws. So he gives the monkey a full pottery lesson. Once trained, he sends it off to start making pots on its own. Later, Aluja spots Princess struggling with clay. She's clearly trying to prove she's just as useful as the monkeys. Unfortunately, Aluja chooses the worst possible words. He tells her she's wasting her time because she doesn't have thumbs and can't really make pots with her tiny arms. He means it as simple logic. Princess hears, "You're useless." She runs off in tears, and Aluja is left wondering what on earth he said wrong. Meanwhile, he makes clay tools for the remaining monkeys and puts them to work expanding the cave. The monkey workforce is thriving. Princess, however, starts questioning if Aluja even needs her anymore. Back in town, Yuno and Melcia are still waiting for their teammates, Daz and Roina. Melcia is sure they got her message, but they're probably busy. Either way, she and Yuno refuse to step foot in the forest again until backup arrives. There's no way they're fighting a plague dragon alone. Meanwhile, that same plague dragon is fast asleep in his cave. Princess climbs onto his chest and tries to wake him up. Aluja opens one eye and attempts to stand, only to realize the monkeys are clinging to all his limbs. Removing them sounds like too much effort, so he goes back to sleep. Princess is not amused. A little later, the monkeys start panicking. One of them is on the verge of dying. Aluja checks its status: poisoned. The culprit? Princess. Uluja immediately yells at her to give the antidote before the monkey dies. She does, and the monkey survives. Uluja then reminds her calmly but firmly that poisoning your allies is not acceptable, even if they're slightly annoying. Princess finally admits the truth: she only poisoned the monkey because she wanted attention. They're running low on meat, and hunting is her specialty. She wanted to prove she could handle it before the monkeys took over that job too. Uluja finally connects the dots. Oh, this isn't about monkeys. This is about feelings. He apologizes for not giving her enough attention lately and promises they'll go hunting together just like old times. Princess instantly brightens up. Quality time secured. Meanwhile, back in the village, a few days have passed since Melcha and Yuno left. Mia is getting restless. Waiting is not her strong suit. She considers going into the forest alone to look for Da again, even though she knows it's incredibly dangerous. At the same time, Uluja and Princess head out to hunt. But Princess is less excited when she realizes the monkeys are coming too. Uluja thinks this is the perfect chance to test how strong the monkeys have become, especially after giving them weapons. Princess thinks this is the perfect way to feel even more ignored. He asks her to scout ahead for prey. She quietly walks forward, clearly upset. Uluja can tell something's wrong, but since they don't speak the same language, he's just guessing based on her sounds and gestures. Emotional communication is complicated. Soon, Princess signals that there are monsters nearby. 2 wolves step out of the bushes. Uluja tells her to get ready so they can fight together. But before they can move, the monkeys charge in like an overexcited construction crew and beat the wolves to death with their tools. Uluja is impressed. Princess is not. Elsewhere in the forest, Mia has wandered deeper than she should have. She decides it's probably smart to turn back. But then she spots Da through the trees. Overjoyed, she runs toward him, calling his name. Da doesn't respond. He just keeps walking deeper into the forest. Instead of taking this obvious warning sign and leaving, Mia follows him right into danger. Soon, she's cornered by monsters. Back with Uluja, he finally realizes Princess feels neglected. He explains that as the new monkey chief, he has responsibilities now. Princess understands, but she still misses having him to herself. So Uluja promises that next time, it'll be just the 2 of them. Princess is so happy she jumps into his arms and starts licking his face. Uluja assures her that she's the most important one in his life. Nothing will change that. And right on cue, a scream echoes through the forest. Uluja instantly recognizes Mia's voice and wants to help, but the last time he trusted humans, he almost died. He can't risk Princess, so he tells her to stay behind. Fed up with being left out, she sprints after him anyway, and immediately smashes face first into a rock, knocking herself out. He checks her status, she'll live, so he leaves her there and rushes off alone. Mia is surrounded by wolves with no chance of escape. Just as they're about to attack, Uluja crashes in and sends one flying with a punch. After so many evolutions, he now looks like a terrifying plague dragon, so Mia doesn't recognize him. He scans the wolves' low D rank, manageable, but they can share vision across their pack, meaning reinforcements are likely coming. Worse, the system won't fully display their stats. Something's off. The wolves charge. Uluja burns 2 with fire breath and knocks out the other 2 in single hits. For a moment, it's just him and Mia. She's terrified alone in the forest with a giant plague dragon. He tries to show he means no harm, awkwardly waving his arms since he can't speak her language. The gestures remind Mia of the baby dragon she once met. Slowly, she realizes it's him. She copies his gestures to confirm, and Uluja feels relieved. Then more wolves arrive. There are too many to fight while protecting her, so he signals for Mia to climb onto his back, and runs. Back in the village, everyone suddenly realizes something is very wrong. Mia is gone. They've already searched every house and corner, which can only mean one thing. She ran into the forest by herself. Marielle can't believe it. Mia was clearly told not to go anywhere near that forest, yet here they are. Gregory suggests forming a search party, but Marielle shuts that down immediately. She says she'll go rescue Mia herself. In the meantime, Greg and the others must stay behind in case Mia somehow returns on her own. At the same time, Yuno's party finally arrives. They look around and don't understand why backup was needed. Yuno explains that the forest is extremely suspicious, especially that cave filled with valuable fruit, and the random plague dragon just hanging around. It was way too dangerous to keep investigating alone, so they called for reinforcements. Now that everyone is here, Melcia suggests they head to the village first, explain the situation to Marielle, and then continue their investigation properly. Deep in the forest, Elusia is still being hunted by wolves and they won't stop. Knowing he can't outrun them forever, he backs into a narrow ravine so they can't surround him, especially with Mia there. He sets her down and turns to fight. 3 wolves charge. They're reduced to ash by his fire breath. The last one hesitates, then attacks anyway. 1 clean strike. Finished. A system notification appears. He's reached the maximum level for his current form. No more growth unless he evolves. Strange part, none of the wolves tried to flee even after watching their pack get vaporized. That's not normal. No time to dwell on it. He checks on Mia and realizes another issue. If he carries her back like this, the villagers might panic and attack him again. And why was she alone out here? Language barrier. But he's starting to understand her. Right then, the system presents 4 evolution options. Dark Dragohuman, a demi-human form closer to human. Rolling Dragon, high-speed mobility type. Little Arc Dragon, light magic and healing abilities. A massive poison serpent dragon. Its scales rot the land it touches. Poison serpent? Immediate no. Rolling dragon? Sounds cool, feels limiting. Little Arc Dragon could heal humans, maybe earn trust. But if he truly wants to live among them, Dragohuman makes the most sense. Still, would humans accept him? Would monsters abandon him? While he thinks, Mia asks for water. After she drinks, she starts teaching him her language, pointing at objects, repeating words. He learns fast. By evening, he understands enough. That's when she explains why she sneaks into the forest. She's searching for someone. Elusia assumes she means the adventurers. She shakes her head. She's looking for Da. Elusia freezes. He saw Da's corpse. He imitates him to confirm and Mia lights up. She realizes he's the dragon she met before and hugs him tightly. For the first time, Elusia feels genuine human affection. He loves it. He decides then he will find a way to be accepted by humans. But heavy footsteps interrupt the moment. Only one creature in this forest sounds like that. The rock dragon. And it doesn't live anywhere near here. He signals Mia to climb onto his back. Plan, drop her near the village safely, then investigate. Simple plan. Ruined by another wolf attack. This time, he notices something strange, a magical energy tag above the wolf. Someone is controlling it. More wolves block the path, and leading them. Da. Alive. But wrong. Elusia scans him, no stats, no skills, no information. Impossible. Mia calls out to Da. He attacks her without hesitation. Elusia knocks him off his wolf. Da scrambles to grab something he dropped. An egg. Then the heavy footsteps return. Everything clicks. The egg belongs to the rock dragon. That's why it's chasing him. And instead of running away from the village, Da runs toward it. If he reaches the village with that egg, the rock dragon will follow and destroy everything. Questions flood Elusia's mind. How is Da alive? Why control wolves? Why endanger the village? No time. The wolves still chase. Carrying Mia slows him down. She tells him to leave her and stop Da. He refuses. She begs him she can't lose her home. He sets her down and chooses to fight. He slams one wolf into the ground, takes down the others fast, but one manages to injure Mia. He obliterates it instantly and rushes to her. She's alive barely. With fading strength, she asks him to save the village. He promises, but he won't abandon her. He lifts her onto his back and runs chasing Da. Back at the village, Gregory sends the children indoors as evening falls. Then it echoes through the air. A roar. The rock dragon. Panic spreads. Even Marielle hears it from the forest, trying to convince herself it's just her imagination as she searches for Mia. Meanwhile, Da continues leading the dragon closer to the village, and Elusia runs with everything he has left, trying to stop a catastrophe before it reaches home. Illusia is still worried about Miria, but she soon wakes up. Thankfully, her injuries aren't as serious as he feared. Seeing her conscious helps him relax, since she can heal herself with magic. However, Miria surprises him by healing Illusia first, saying it's her way of thanking him for helping her earlier. Meanwhile, in the village, Gregory suddenly encounters a wolf. Completely unprepared to fight monsters, he panics. When the wolf lunges at him, Gregory instinctively braces his spear, and the beast accidentally impales itself and dies on top of him. But when he looks up, he sees something far worse, a plague dragon standing over him. Terrified, Gregory begins screaming and flailing, which is exactly the reaction Illusia expected. Miria quickly calms him down and explains that Illusia isn't an enemy, but is actually helping protect the village. Gregory finally stops panicking, though he's confused about how Miria befriended a dragon. While talking, Miria suddenly remembers Gregory is the same man who stabbed Illusia earlier. Gregory realizes the dragon may have been trying to help that day and sincerely apologizes. Illusia accepts the apology, relieved that Gregory turned out to be reasonable. Their calm moment ends when they hear the terrifying roar of the rock dragon. Miria asks Gregory where Daz went, and he explains that Daz sent a wolf after him and ran off alone. Realizing they must find him quickly, Miria prepares to leave, but Gregory warns that villagers might panic if a dragon suddenly enters the village. He offers to come along, and Illusia lowers his tail so Gregory can climb on. Back in the village, people notice Daz has returned alive, but something about him feels very wrong. At the same time, Illusia and Gregory arrive together, terrifying the villagers even more when they see Gregory riding a dragon. The roar of the rock dragon echoes again as it draws closer. Gregory suggests they continue searching, but Miria's injuries become an issue. Both Illusia and Gregory insist she rest instead of coming with them. Reluctantly, she agrees. Once she steps off, Illusia dashes through the village with Gregory on his back to find Daz. When they finally locate him, Gregory orders Daz to drop his sword. Instead, Daz attacks violently, knocking Gregory off the dragon. Illusia quickly grabs Daz, slams him around, and pins him to the ground. He could easily kill him, but hesitates this would be the first human he intentionally kills, and he fears becoming no different from a monster in front of the villagers. Instead, he knocks Daz unconscious with a powerful strike. Watching this, the villagers begin to realize that the dragon might actually be on their side. But the crisis isn't over. Daz suddenly wakes up, grabs a boy named Jean, and holds a sword to his neck as a hostage. Jean begs him to stop, reminding him they used to be friends, but Daz is clearly no longer the same person. Illusia freezes, unable to act without risking the boy's life. Then he remembers something worse. The rock dragon is coming for its egg, which is sitting right behind Daz. Suddenly, Daz spits strange slime and pulls himself onto a high platform. Moments later, the rock dragon finally arrives. Daz grabs the dragon's egg and threatens to smash it while taunting the monster. Illusia leaps toward him to stop it, but Daz had planned this. He throws Jean off the platform, forcing Illusia to dive and save the boy. While Illusia is distracted, Daz smashes the egg. The rock dragon sees its shattered egg and goes completely berserk, rampaging through the village. At that moment, Marielle returns and meets Miria, who explains the unbelievable situation. Daz intentionally brought the rock dragon to the village using its own egg. Back at the battlefield, Illusia protects Jean from the dragon's attacks. When the chaos briefly settles, he sees Daz celebrating like he's won. But his triumph ends instantly when the raging rock dragon steps on him, crushing him into a red stain. Illusia can't help thinking that if he had killed Daz earlier, none of this might have happened. But now it's too late. The rock dragon is still rampaging through the village. Illusia quickly hands Jean to Gregory and tells him to run somewhere safe. Gregory understands what he's planning and asks what Illusia will do. Illusia gives a simple answer. He's staying behind to fight. Gregory doesn't like the idea, but he knows arguing won't change Illusia's mind, so he carries Jean away from the battlefield. Once they're gone, Illusia checks the rock dragon's stats. And honestly, the numbers are not encouraging. Still, Illusia doesn't hesitate. With zero fear, he charges straight at the massive dragon. He dodges its first tail swipe, flies upward and prepares to strike back with a powerful dragon punch. Unfortunately, the rock dragon's armor is ridiculously tough. Illuja's punches barely scratch it. His fire breath? Useless. Throwing rocks? Also useless. Basically, nothing he tries is doing any real damage. Then things get worse. The rock dragon slams him to the ground with a single hit. The attack hurts so badly that Illuja can't even move anymore. As the giant dragon slowly approaches his helpless body, it really looks like this is the end. But suddenly, whoosh! An arrow flies through the air and hits the dragon. It doesn't actually hurt the monster, but it does grab its attention. The dragon turns its head and sees Gregory and several villagers who have come to help. Gregory bravely charges forward with his spear, but the weapon simply bounces off the dragon's scales like it hit a brick wall. Illuja finally gets the opening he needs. He leaps into the air and dropkicks the rock dragon in the neck, while one of Gregory's friends fires an arrow that hits the dragon straight in the eye. For a brief moment, it looks like their attacks are actually working. But when Illuja checks the dragon's stats, the truth is discouraging. All of that effort only reduced the dragon's health by 8%. They still have a very long battle ahead. The rock dragon suddenly activates an earth ability, causing sharp spikes to burst from the ground. One of Gregory's friends is killed instantly, and Gregory himself becomes trapped. Seeing this, Illuja panics, and in that moment of distraction, the dragon kicks him in the back, slamming him hard into the ground. Just when things seem hopeless, Illuja hears the divine voice again. The skill has just reached level 4, unlocking a new ability that can run simplified simulations to predict outcomes. Its first advice is simple: run away. Confused, Illuja wonders why the voice powered up just to tell him that. The voice calmly explains that it already knows he won't run away because he refuses to abandon the village. It even admits it enjoyed watching his journey but believes this is where his story ends. Illuja immediately rejects that fate. He refuses to die here. If he's going down, he'll go down fighting. So he decides to use his final trump card, his pending evolution. The problem is that evolving might change his appearance, meaning the humans and even the Venom Princess might not recognize him anymore. Still, if it gives him the power to defeat the rock dragon, he's willing to take the risk. Now he just has to choose which evolution. Thanks to the new simulation ability, possible outcomes appear quickly. But Illuja refuses to abandon the village, which leaves him with only one choice. Most of the villagers have already been evacuated and are being treated by Mia in a safe area. When Marielle asks if everyone made it out, Mia explains that a few villagers are still missing. Just then, Jean and her family arrive, accounting for some of them, but a few people are still unaccounted for. Soon after, Marielle hears alarming news. Gregory and several friends ran back to the village center to stop the rock dragon. She immediately decides to go after them and tells Mia to stay behind and treat the injured. However, Mia insists on coming, explaining she has already used all the magic she can here and there will likely be more wounded in the village. Realizing she's right, Marielle agrees. Meanwhile, the rock dragon continues rampaging through the village. Illuja is still deciding which evolution path to take when he spots Gregory trapped between two massive rocks. Saving him becomes his priority. Illuja considers evolving into a little arc dragon to gain healing magic, but the system warns that the chances of saving Gregory or winning the battle are extremely low with that option. Ignoring the warning, Illuja jumps down to help Gregory. However, Gregory is badly crushed between stone pillars and slowly bleeding out. When Illuja prepares to evolve to save him, Gregory grabs his claw and tells him not to. Gregory admits he doesn't understand why a plague dragon would help humans, since monsters supposedly grow stronger by killing them. Believing this might be Illuja's only chance to gain the power needed to defeat the rock dragon, Gregory asks him to kill him and use his death to grow stronger. Illuja refuses at first, explaining he has never eaten a human and grows stronger through evolution instead. But then a troubling thought strikes him despite being a plague dragon. He has no evolution path into an adult plague dragon. Perhaps it's because he hasn't done anything that fits the image of an evil dragon. Feeling guilty for stabbing Illuja in the past, even after Illuja saved Mia, Gregory insists on sacrificing himself if it will unlock the power needed to save the village. As one of his friends watches in confusion, Gregory lifts Illusia's claw to his neck and begs him to do whatever it takes. Heartbroken, Illusia finally gives in and beheads Gregory with one painful strike. Immediately, the system announces that Illusia's Calamity Bringer title has increased from level 1 to level 3, unlocking a new evolution option, Matured B rank Plague Dragon. Illusia selects it without hesitation. As he evolves, he feels nothing but despair, knowing he can never return to the way things were. Moments later, he transforms into a full-fledged Plague Dragon, now strong enough to fight the Rock Dragon. The two dragons clash violently, but Illusia realizes he cannot win through raw strength. Instead, he changes tactics, lifting the Rock Dragon's head with his wings and slashing its throat. The attack fails because its rocky skin is too tough, so Illusia retreats and lures it deep into the forest for the final battle. Back in the village, Mia and Marielle search for survivors. Gregory's friend Oris appears and leads them to Gregory's severed body, claiming the Plague Dragon killed him. Mia refuses to believe it, but Oris insists he saw everything and says the dragon suddenly grew larger afterward. Marielle suspects the dragon evolved but tells Mia they must focus on helping the injured. Meanwhile, in the forest, Illusia continues fighting the Rock Dragon using his new abilities. One lets him unleash a wind slash from his wings, though it only causes minor damage. When the system refuses to reveal the dragon's weak points, Illusia relies on instinct and repeatedly targets its head, eventually gouging out its second eye and blinding it completely. However, the blind dragon begins rampaging wildly, and one of its random charges heads straight toward the village. Illusia quickly flies ahead and blocks its path. Back in the village, after finishing the healing, Marielle turns around and realizes Mia has disappeared. She has likely run off to find Illusia. Meanwhile, the battle continues in the forest. At first, the Rock Dragon pushes Illusia back, but he finally activates his dragon scale ability, releasing a deadly poison into the air to turn the fight in his favor. The toxin weakens the Rock Dragon significantly. With the monster finally weakened, Illusia goes all out and repeatedly attacks its neck. Then he activates a new skill called Neckbreaker, which highlights the exact spot needed to snap the dragon's neck. Understanding the cue instantly, Illusia strikes with all his strength. The blow lands perfectly. With a loud crack, the Rock Dragon's neck snaps, and the battle finally ends. The system immediately announces his reward. Illusia's Plague Dragon level jumps from level 1 all the way to level 19. But Illusia doesn't care about levels or achievements. All that matters to him is that he managed to protect Mia's village. As he collapses from exhaustion, he suddenly hears Mia calling his name. He's surprised she can still recognize him after his transformation. But the moment quickly turns tense. Marielle suddenly blasts him with a beam of light and shouts for Mia to get away from him, believing the Plague Dragon is too dangerous. Ironically, the attack barely scratches him. If he truly wanted to hurt them, they'd already be in serious trouble. Mia steps in front of Illusia and insists that he would never harm anyone. Marielle argues back after all, he killed Gregory. Mia turns to Illusia and quietly asks if it's true. From the look on his face, she can tell the answer is yes. Even so, Mia believes there must have been a reason, and she still chooses to trust him. Illusia is deeply moved by her faith in him. But then Mia suddenly starts coughing. His poisonous aura is still active, and it's slowly affecting her. At that moment, Illusia realizes a painful truth. As long as he stays near Mia in his current form, he will only cause her suffering. So he gently pushes her back toward Marielle, spreads his wings, and flies away into the night. Eventually, he lands beside a quiet lake, completely exhausted and emotionally shattered. He can't understand how everything turned out like this. After killing Gregory and becoming a Plague Dragon, he knows humans will never trust him again. And worst of all, he still doesn't know why he was brought into this world in the first place. As he lies there, he suddenly hears footsteps approaching from behind. It might be another monster coming to attack him. But at this point, he doesn't even care anymore. So he simply closes his eyes and waits. And that's where episode 10 ends.